Hi mushers! I'm going to be doing a more extensive overhaul on my trusty old Diggler, but in the process of that as well, I wanted to get some before pictures just to talk a little bit more about the fit for an antenna like the non-stop antenna as a line keeper to keep your line from sagging into your wheel. So it says that they fit most standard threadless headsets. So how would you know if it doesn't fit your headset, even if it is a threadless? Because this is a threadless headset, so technically that should work, right? But this, as it's set right now, with this fork in it, with the steerer tube trimmed to the length that it just came this way, there are no spacers to speak of on the headset. So there is actually nowhere to put the antenna as it is now. This part right here is an external headset cup. It is not a spacer. If you can see really close in there, there's maybe like a 2mm spacer in there. So what you're looking for to know if you can fit the non-stop in particular anyway, I don't know about some of the other brands and the thickness they are, but you need roughly a 10mm spacer. So if you don't have at least one of these in your headset stack, you won't be able to fit it in there safely and still get your fork attached to your bike and thus keep your front wheel attached to your bike or scooter. So keep that in mind if you're looking, because it's not a matter of it's close enough and the bolt and the headset still reached. It needs to be a very precise measurement, and I will get video of that as I open things up too. So like here's a couple of smaller spacers. You could take two smaller spacers out that add up within, a millimeter or two, or one the exact same size. If you have a larger, say 20mm spacer like this, and you take this out of your headset stack, you would need to add back in the antenna plus a 10mm spacer. And you can buy packs like this. This is just called a problem solver because things like this come up. And one more safety caveat, this is a tapered steerer tube, so you will not be able to accidentally put the antenna down here at this joint instead. Straight steerer tubes, technically it would fit on there. You cannot put it down there because it will interfere with your headset bearings and just wreck stuff and not let you put it together safely. So don't do that. Keep it below or above the stem, above that upper headset bearing. So here's everything loosely assembled so far. New fork, same headset, and I just didn't cut the steerer tube at all, and then I was able to use a couple of my problem solver size spacers and fill in that space exactly and leave the 3mm of space for tightening up the headset. Alright, once you've got everything fit together and you're sure that you have the correct amount of space above the steerer tube for the top cap to tighten down, you'll put the top cap on and thread it in just loosely. And then from there, you'll want to tighten that down. I believe it's about 4 Newton meters, but many people tighten it without using a torque wrench. And you just need it tight enough so that those bearings in your headset will still spin and move freely, but so that there's no play in it. So I'll go ahead and do that now. A way to check and see to make sure that there's no play is to hold your hand at the seam of the top of your headset and hold your front brake and just kind of push and rock against it and see if you feel any movement at that seam where your headset seals. If you do, you'll need to tighten it just a little bit more and try again. Another important thing is that before you tighten this bolt, you do not tighten this one or any of the bolts on this side of the stem. These need to be loose while you're tightening and putting the correct tension on the bearings in the headset. So make sure this bolt gets done first, and then we can move on to the stem and the antenna. Alright, so since my project involved handlebars as well, I got those back on and got the brakes hooked up, tested for play in the headset by putting my fingers right on the seam right there, holding the front brake and rocking it, no play. So then I centered the handlebars, tightened the stem bolts, centered the antenna, tightened that bolt there, and that should be good to go. And here's just a closer up shot of my thermometer on my stem captain here. It's mostly for looks, of course, because I have to cross-reference humidity as well for runs, but I really kind of like it. It's just a fun touch.